The attitudes, the perspectives, and the values of the wealthy and the poor are very distinctly different. And if we're going to reframe our finances, we also need to start to reframe our attitudes, our perspectives, and our values so that we're able to elevate ourselves to a place of wealth generating, wealth growing, wealth building. And so today we're going to have a look at some of the things that wealthy people think is the way to be. However, poor people think is wasteful. Welcome back to Ira Living. Today we're going to take a look at 8 things that poor people think are wasteful and wealthy people do. Before we dive into it, it is important that we understand that the two parties think very differently. And this is because of the levels of exposure that they have had as they have developed their lifestyle and how it has passed down from generation to generation. And therefore, it's fair enough that we understand the difference and then take action to ensure that we're minimizing this difference. Now, the first thing that we're going to be looking at is time to reflect. Now, the wealthy people require time to reflect. They want to take time out from their schedule and to sit back, reflect, and to think about the things that have transpired and look at ways in which they have gone well, ways in which it hadn't served them as effectively as they had intended, and then also look at means for adjusting. Now, the people who are poor tend to not want to do this because they feel like this has already happened, let's move on. However, it's important that we understand that we learn a lot from our history. And if we don't know our history, then it's going to negatively impact the future that we want to create. And it is why reflection is a paramount part of wealthy lifestyle. The wealthy value number 2 things is a good night rest. And this doesn't mean that you need to go to your bed exceptionally early. What it means is that you are regulating the amount of sleep that your body requires and ensuring that you're getting it. It adds to your health. And when you're in your optimal health, then you can also optimize your performance in the day that is to come and make the most of the days that you are going to be experiencing, because there are several decisions to be made and you want to be in a position where the decisions you're making are effective decisions for you and for those people around you. And the third thing that wealthy people do that the poor think is a wasteful venture is hiring help for small tasks. Now, oftentimes you find that poor people tend to be a jack of all trade and master of few or none. And for the wealthy, they want to be masters of things, and therefore they outsource things that they feel is not the best use of their time. It's not that they don't have the skill set to do it. Sometimes they do. However, they realize that that's not the best way to use their time. So, for example, you might find that the wealthy pays somebody to wash their car. It might be a 30-minute exercise. However, they use that 30 minutes to see how they can invest in things that are going to make them substantially more money than they've lost in the time that it would have taken them to wash their car. Another thing that you see them outsourcing might be like doing their gardening. It is because they understand that there is somebody out there who is able to do their gardening for them, and they can use that time, for example, to invest with their family, which is a maximum yield of their time in comparison to if they were doing the gardening. And there are many other things that they choose to outsource and utilize their time more effectively because they have the ability to make the decision about how they're going to use their time and with whom they're going to spend it and when they're going to do certain things, and they make that a priority. The fourth thing that wealthy people spend their time doing is reading books. Now, in this day and age, people might think that reading book, why? However, although we can watch YouTube videos and we can listen to podcasts and we have audiobooks, it is essential that we're educating ourselves, and that's the importance of reading the books. And so you might find that they spend time reading some fiction, but the majority of what they read is going to be non-fiction literature. And they're reading these to gather insight and get information. Now, there's a lot of self-help books out there, and they will read some of those. if they feel that they're going to be impactful in the journey that they're undertaking. A lot of them tend to read books of historic accounts, books that is in the fields that they have interest in. They tend to read memoirs and autobiographies, which give them insights about people's experiences, people's perception, people's encounter with different things, so that they can make more informed decisions and upscale their views, their perspective, and in so doing, create a better lifestyle for themselves and for the people around them. Number 5 is quiet and silence. They like the opportunity to sit back and listen to their own thoughts, to be able to sit back and meditate on things that they have learned, insight that they have garnered and gathered. And in so doing, in those quiet moments, they get to spend time with who they are, learn more about themselves, get more understanding as to how they can develop, identify their own weaknesses, identify their strengths, and look for how they can create a better version of themselves in spending those quiet time with themselves. Oftentimes, poor people don't want to sit back and even hear a thought that's flowing through their minds. And they prefer to drown out the silence with any noise that they can create, whether that is spending time just listening to music, watching shows, and just having things in the background to prevent them from actually listening and hearing the thought that's in their heads, which is pivotal to one's improvement and further development. Number 6 is financial education. Now, the wealthy seek out to learn more about finance, more about how they can manage the finances that they have, more about how they can grow the finance that they have, and avenues for how they can build more wealth. It's significant that we understand finances because it's one of those things that we're going to be interacting and encountering for the majority of our lives. And therefore, if we don't understand how to circumvent the areas of finance, how are we going to do that effectively and efficiently? Because that's a significant chunk of our lives. And so it's important that the poor spend the time that is necessary to understand finances, because at the end of the day, it's not about how much money you earn and how much money you have inherited or stacked away. The importance here is about how do you manage the money that you have so that you can grow it, so that you can build out a portfolio that enables you to provide for your needs and the needs of your family members around you, and also being able to have enough money so that you can get a decent retirement period of life where you can know that you're not having to work every single day of your life simply because it's a necessity. But when you do get to that stage where you're working for the ledger and the pleasure that you get from it, where you can see how you're contributing to society and you want to continue to live out your purpose by being deployed. So it's important that we understand financial management and get financial education so we can actually be financially emancipated. And number 7 is good nutrition. Now, the wealthy recognize how important it is to eat healthily because they know that what they put in their bodies is what is going to be the fuel that runs their bodies. And our bodies are the temples that we have that is going to be with us if we're going to be living and actively enjoying the life that we are existing in. And therefore, it's important that our nutrition is healthy. Now, we're not saying that we go out and spend lavishly. What we're saying is that we're particular about the things that we're eating. We understand the nutritive values that we're getting and the impact and benefit it has on our bodies. And we take it as a priority in our life and in our existence. And we ensure that it is infused as a fundamental part of the way that we choose to live, the lifestyle that we follow and that we carry. And so it's important that regardless of our station in life, that our nutrition is important and paramount to us. Number 8 is savings and investment. Now, the wealthy ensure that they're prioritizing savings and also prioritizing investments. Majority of the people who are wealthy have a savings account that they use as their funding fuel. So they save up that money and they use it to direct it to the different investment that they want, and it therefore funds those investments. Now, majority of the time, poor people do not spend the time to figure out how they can start to save because they think that this is not enough and this is not enough to set aside. But as they would say, and as my grandparents have constantly reminded us, every mickle makes a muckle. which means that every little bit that you put aside goes a long way to help you to get to where you want to go. And therefore, it's important that we remember that here, because the savings and investment is doing exactly that. The savings allows you to set aside small amounts, if that's what you can afford, that will then grow into large quantities. It allows you the opportunity to tap into compounding as well, so that you're benefiting from interest. However, it also gives you that platform to invest in projects and ideas that you have rooted in you. Because as Miles Monroe would say, the graveyard is one of the wealthiest places on earth, because so many ideas, ambitions, and vision die with people and gets buried there. And if we are actually implementing a good saving technique, then we will be able to create the funds that we need to invest in some of these ideas, some of these dreams, some of these ambitions and visions, so that we die empty. We pour it out into the living now, utilize those visions and see them grow, blossom, and thrive, because we are able to fund them, to invest into those visions and make them into big businesses and corporations that can be passed on to generations after us, because we are using it to create generational legacy. Now, there are lots of different attitudes and there are lots of different perspective and value systems that exist in this world. It is up to us as individuals to see the ones that are going to contribute positively to the life that we live and the legacy that we leave behind. Remember, financial literacy is revolutionary. It has transformed my life, and I believe that it can do the same to yours.